Single
Okay, they're
dad
ready.
saw everyone
We'll meet you
ignore
there.
the billionaire's
Yay,
deaf
we're
daughter
going!
until he
Awesome!
All
used
right,
sign
see you
language.
soon.
With her, people noticed the
We're right
billionaire the
here with
moment he
you.
walked into the
I know,
airport
thank
lounge,
you.
his tailored suit,
We're a team.
his quiet
Always.
confidence. The private security standing at a distance, but almost no one noticed the little girl walking beside him, except to look away when she tried to speak. She was waving her hands gently, trying to communicate, her eyes full of hope. One by one, adults turned their heads, pretended not to see her, or smiled awkwardly and stepped aside, until one tired-looking single dad did something that stopped everything. Before the story begins, take a moment to support the channel. If stories of kindness, humanity, and unexpected connections touch your heart, please subscribe, like this video, and share your thoughts in the comments. This is Kindness Diaries, where small acts change lives. The airport was crowded that afternoon. Delays, announcements echoing overhead, people glued to their phones, rushing past one another like kindness was a luxury no one had time for. Ethan Miller sat near gate 47 with his 7-year-old son Noah. Ethan looked exhausted, the kind of exhaustion that came from years of doing everything alone. Since his wife passed away, life had been a non-stop balancing act: work, school runs, late-night dinners, and trying to be both parents at once. Noah leaned against his dad, swinging his feet. "Dad, my ears are tired," he said. Ethan smiled softly. "That's because you've been listening too hard," he joked, ruffling Noah's hair. That's when Ethan noticed her, a little girl, maybe 8 years old, sitting stiffly beside a tall man in an expensive suit. The man spoke quietly into his phone, his tone calm but firm. He looked important, powerful. The girl tugged gently at his sleeve and signed something with her hands. The man nodded, distracted, and gave her a small smile, but his eyes quickly returned to the phone. The girl turned instead to the people around her. She signed again, slowly, carefully, like she was hoping anyone would understand. A woman glanced at her hands, frowned in confusion, and looked away. A man pretended to check his watch and moved seats. A teenager laughed nervously and whispered something to a friend. The girl's shoulders sank. Noah noticed too. "Dad," he whispered, "why is she moving her hands like that?" Ethan swallowed. "She's talking," he said quietly, just not with her voice. The girl's eyes landed on Ethan and Noah. She hesitated. Then she raised her hands again, signing shyly. Ethan froze for half a second. Then he smiled. He lifted his hands and signed back, clear and gentle. The girl's face lit up instantly. Her eyes widened. Her mouth opened in a silent gasp. She signed faster now, excitement spilling out in her movements. Ethan left softly and signed again, keeping pace. Noah stared in amazement. "Dad, you're talking with your hands." The girl turned to Noah and signed something playful. Ethan translated, smiling. "She says you have cool sneakers." Noah beamed. "Tell her thanks." Ethan signed it. The girl giggled, soundless but full of joy. For the first time since she'd arrived at the gate, she looked seen. The man in the suit ended his call and finally looked over. He paused. He watched his daughter animatedly signing with a complete stranger. He watched her laugh. Watched her lean forward, fully alive. Something shifted in his expression. He stood and walked over slowly. "Excuse me," he said. You know sign language?" Ethan nodded. "A little. My mom was a teacher for deaf kids. I grew up learning it." The man exhaled like he'd been holding his breath for years. "Thank you," he said quietly. "Most people don't even try." The girl tugged her father's hand and signed rapidly. The man smiled sadly. "She says she was asking people how long the delay was." No one answered her. Ethan felt a tightness in his chest. "She deserves better than that." The man looked at Ethan more closely now, not at his worn jacket or tired eyes, but at his heart. "I'm Daniel," he said, extending his hand, "and this is my daughter Lily." "Ethan, and this is Noah." Lily signed Noah's name carefully, practicing it until she got it right. Daniel watched in silence. People began to notice now. Some stared. Others looked uncomfortable. A few looked ashamed. But Lily didn't care anymore. She had someone listening. As they talked, Daniel shared something he rarely told strangers. Despite his wealth, despite his power, his daughter lived in a world that often ignored her. Teachers talked about her instead of to her. Adults spoke louder instead of learning her language. "I can buy almost anything," Daniel said quietly. "But I can't buy her belonging." Ethan nodded. "Kindness doesn't cost money," he said. "It costs attention." The boarding announcement echoed through the lounge. Lily's flight was called. She hugged Ethan suddenly, wrapping her arms tight around him. Then she hugged Noah too. She signed one last thing. Ethan's throat tightened. As he translated, she says, "Thank you for seeing me." Daniel reached into his pocket and pulled out a business card. "If you ever need anything, call me." Ethan smiled gently and shook his head. "I don't need anything." Daniel paused, then smiled back, understanding. As they walked away, Lily turned back one last time and signed friend. Ethan signed it back. Weeks later, Ethan received a letter in the mail. Inside was a handwritten note from Lily with drawings and careful words, and a message from Daniel, not an offer of money but gratitude. Since that day, Ethan began teaching Noah sign language at home, slowly, patiently. Because kindness, once given, doesn't stop. It multiplies, and sometimes the smallest act, listening when no one else does, can mean everything to someone who's been silent for too long. So if you ever see someone being ignored, overlooked, or misunderstood, be the one who notices. Be the one who listens. Be the one who uses kindness as a language everyone understands. Because you never know whose world you might change just by caring.